Welcome back to Grumpy Vet Garage. Today we're getting back on my 2007 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD, working on body mounts. The truck has well over 300,000 miles, and it's showing its age in a few different spots, but one of them being the body mounts. So if you come over here and look at the body alignment, come on the side, get low, you can see it. You can see how the line for the bed, where it's at, granted the bed is mounted straight to the frame, and then the body, that is sagged down. It's really always been this way since I've had the truck. So I really don't know how much of an improvement changing body mounts out can be to the truck and its ride quality, but it's gotta be better than it is right now. Like for instance, in the local area, there's a spot with railroad crossing, and I turn around and slow down quite a bit to go over those railroad tracks with the truck, compared to in my Supra. Yeah, I still slow down, but I'm able to, it almost seems like it glides over a little more gently while going over those same railroad tracks. In the truck, it's kind of just rattly. So I'm hoping to go ahead and fix it with some new body mounts. So let me go ahead and show you what I got to replace. So what I ended up getting was the S&B body mounts. These are silicone body mounts. They come nicely packaged, but I pulled out a couple of them for you to see. Those right there. But it comes with a sticker, comes with an instruction QR code. And I already looked at that QR code. It gives you torque spec and everything you need to know to properly install these. It also comes with all new hardware. So these are factory, or I should say OEM, body mount bolts. And then these are the front bolts with the lock nuts. There's also washers that go on the front ones too. But let me show you how the mounts put together. Again, all 8 of them for the crew cab long bed's the same, but the top is like a Teflon anti-corrosion shim. Then you have your top steel body. The bottom has the steel washer, silicone isolator. There's this tab, it says right on it, you don't install that, so you remove that out of the way. And then this is the top part of the mount. So you have a like a silicone anti-squeal washer, another Teflon, and then these two pieces actually come apart. So you can pull the silicone apart from the main body. You see how it goes, but it's keyed, so it goes back only really one way. So that back on, this Teflon tab, this washer, and then with this Teflon on top, this is what goes in between the body or the cab and the frame tab. And then on the bottom, you put in the bottom piece, the washer, and then you would run the factory bolt that they supply for the cab positions. And then for the forward position, you would run the bolt and nut through to hold it to the truck. But this is the mount. Okay, so that's the kit and what comes in the box. Let's go ahead and move on to putting it on the truck. But before that, if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to Grumpy Vet Garage. It really helps out the channel. Like this video, share it with your friends. Additionally, we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. Again, anything you purchase in that store helps the channel to grow. So by all means, go on there and find something for yourself. But let's go ahead and move forward with getting these on the truck. So the way I'm going to tackle this is I decided I was going to go ahead and pull the front bolts first. So I hit an impact to kind of break loose any corrosion or anything like that. The wrenches that go on those, so the stud on the bottom is actually 8mm, and then the nut itself is 18mm, and then the head of the bolt on top is 15mm. So, well, on the driver's side, it's hard to really show you the tops of the bolts down there, but you can actually access it through this area right here in the core support. You also could just pull the headlight out. So on the passenger side, I went ahead and just pulled out the headlight. You use this tab, you pull it out, and then this whole housing will come out. But again, it's really difficult to see the bolt down there. But reaching down there, the problem is, let me go to the bottom and show you the problem. The problem you're going to have is this line right here, this AC line, is going to cover up where the bolt's going to come out. I'm going to try to move the camera over so you can see right here where the bolt comes up. It hits the line. So I'm going to need to try to tweak this line out of the way somehow to get this bolt out, because without being able to get this bolt out, you can see it kind of came up with the washer. It doesn't allow it to keep going. But without getting this bolt out, it's going to be difficult to change this this mount. Okay, here's the passenger side lower mount. This is the driver's side. Here's the driver's side hardware. I was thinking about it. The bolt that I'm trying to remove that's like this on the passenger side, once we lift up the core support a little bit and able to pull out the mount, that may give us just enough tilt to slide this past the AC line. So I haven't tried it yet, but I think that's going to prevent us from having to really bend anything out of the way. So up underneath the truck, all the actual cab bolts, those are going to be 21 millimeter. You're going to need to loosen all of them, but you're only going to remove one on each, you're only going to remove one side at a time. You don't want the cab to shift sideways from where it's located. So loosen all the bolts, 21 millimeter on the cab, and then it's going to be 18 millimeter on the top. I'm sorry, 18 millimeter on the bottom and 15 millimeter on the top for the core support bolts. But loosen every single one of them, but only remove one side at a time. And then, so after that, you're going to come in with a jack, and you can see the back door there and the front door there. There is a support about halfway in between the back mount and the middle mount. You're going to put a jack there, and then you're going to lift up, and then that will let you get the rear and the middle mount out. And then once those are replaced, put the new S&Bs put in, let it back down. You don't need to run a bolt in at the side, and then move forward to there's a spot in between the middle mount and the forward mount on the cab. You're going to lift there, and that'll allow you to get the front mount on the cab and then the core radiator support mount. Okay, as you move to the forward position to get the front mount and the core support mount on the driver's side, be cognizant of the harnesses, but you don't want to crush any of this. There's no point in putting in body mounts if you're going to break your truck doing it. So just be careful about, cables and everything, but you can still get to the support you need to lift at. Also, while working on the driver's side, it's important to remember that in the driver's side wheel well right here, there is your e-brake cable, and then underneath you have various cables. You have wiring harnesses here, and then additionally there's your transmission shift cable. So you need to be careful about when you're lifting up. You only want to lift up high enough to get the old mount out and slip the new one in. So you can see the difference here. This is the rear one on the passenger side, and here's a new mount from S&B. It doesn't look all that bad, but you can tell that it's not even square anymore. Like it's been crushed on one side. So definitely seeing some fatigue. Clearly shorter. Granted, they're not torqued yet, so when this one gets torqued, it's going to smash down. But yeah, I think I'm going to see a big difference here. Okay, so now I got the truck sitting on the mounts, and I have the bolts run up in there loosely. But now I need to snug them down and then torque all the cab bolts to 122 foot-pounds. And then the core support bolt needs to be torqued to 63 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've gone around and snugged up all the bolts on the cab and on the front. You want to do it relatively evenly, and you'll actually see the cab and the body lines line up. But now we need to come back and torque on the cab bolts. The cab bolts are 122 foot-pounds, and the core support nut is 63 foot-pounds. You're going to need somebody to help you with the core support. You won't be able to hold the top and then properly torque the bottom without help. But let me go ahead and torque down these cab bolts. Okay, there we go, 122. And I find that the longer torque wrench really helps out to get that torque, especially when you're in an awkward position like laying on the ground. But now we need to go ahead and torque all of them, and then I'll come back. Okay, truck's back on the ground. Everything's torqued. Just got done hosing off the truck. It's pollen season here in the south, and it gets a little annoying. Doesn't matter how clean your vehicle is, it'll look yellow in about 10 seconds. But now we're ready to go ahead and go take a drive and see how these body mounts how they behave. Okay, so we're out, still kind of in the neighborhood, not really up to speed yet. Right now, it feels good, but it still feels like a diesel truck. That actually felt pretty good. I guess it feels tighter, would be the thing to say. But again, it's still stiffly sprung diesel truck. So let's get her out on the highway here and see what it looks like. It's really those harsh bumps are the ones that really kind of where I notice stuff. I know there's a spot further up this road here where it's a little rougher. South Carolina with their premium road care. Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, normally that bump right there rattles the truck pretty hard. But this normal driving, smooth road, it kind of feels like a diesel truck. It's the dips is where I really feel a difference. Here comes one right now. That's way better than it was previously. Again, I'm not really seeing any kind of that shaking, juddering that I was getting before with my truck on the bumpy section. So to me, on a rough road, this is a huge improvement. But on normal driving, going down a relatively smooth road, it still feels very much like a diesel truck with a stiff suspension. So if you think it's going to turn into a Cadillac Escalade, it's not. It's still a 2500 HD truck. All right, so now we're coming up to a part of a section of road that is straight trash. Washboard effect, just garbage. So the camera's probably going to shake. Let's see how this feels. Yeah, this is way better than it was. I mean, this is still a terrible road. But yeah, I mean, it's a night and day difference going down this road with these body mounts than with the worn out factory ones I had. So I think, yeah, I mean, this night and day difference between the two. Yeah. So just for clarification, S&B, well, this road's terrible. That was way better. It would shake everything. S&B did not provide these body mounts for me to put on my truck. I would love if they had. What I would say is if you have worn out body mounts, these S&B mounts would be good for you. Quite honestly, how much better than it would be than OE, I'm not quite sure. But I think the longevity of the silicone mount compared to the rubber mount is really where you're going to see the benefit. These mounts feel good. And really, any OEM mount probably would be good too. But I think the longevity of the silicone material over a standard OE rubber material is really where you're going to see the long-term benefits of going to an S&B mount and probably not having to worry about it again, compared to clearly the rubber ones deteriorate and get old. So yeah, I would say get an S&B mount. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to Grumpy Vet Garage, liking this video, sharing this video with your friends. It really helps out the channel to grow. Additionally, we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. This is a Grumpy Vet Garage shirt I'm wearing right now. Link to that store is in the description below. Go there, get yourself something that helps out the channel to grow too. But again, thanks for coming and seeing me in my garage. And until next time, have a good one.